Come in, my children. Sit down, relax. I want to speak to you today, not as a commentator, not as a partisan, but as a man who wore the uniform of this country in Vietnam and who has spent a lifetime watching how the world moves when America steps forward and when it steps back. All right, check it out. There's a lot of noise out there today, right? A lot of fear, a lot of people trying to score points off a war that's barely a week old. Economists like Paul Krugman, are warning that this conflict with Iran could be the straw that breaks the camel's back, for the U.S. economy, pointing to rising oil prices, the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, and the cost of military operations. And these concerns aren't imaginary. War always has a price, but fear is not analysis and panic, my children. It's not wisdom. Uh-uh. So I want to offer a different lens here. The long lens, all right? The one that you earn when you've seen what happens when America hesitates and when America leads. So you've got two things going on. You got a short picture, all right, which they're showing you right now, boom. And you got the long picture that I'm talking about, all right? So Krugman is looking at the short picture, all right? Oil prices, market volatility, the daily cost of operations. I mean, that's his job. Economists measure turbulence, volatility, all that stuff. But veterans, we measure consequences. Yeah. We measure what happens when a regime like Iran's, a regime that has killed its own people in the streets, funded terror across the region, and in many parts of other nations, threatens its neighbors for decades, is allowed to act without restraint. Yeah, that's what we're looking at. So we measure what happens when the world's shipping lanes are left unprotected, when nuclear ambitions go unchecked, and when proxy militias destabilize entire regions. We measure what happens when America steps back and leaves a vacuum for Russia, China, or extremist groups to fill. The long picture is not about fear. It's about responsibility. So why this particular moment in history matters, I'll tell you. Iran's leadership's been weakened for years. Its economy's collapsing. Its people have given rise to their voice, their struggle again and again, and have been met with bullets. Their own people. And a long, protracted war is not in Iran's interest. They know it. Their allies know it. And the world knows it. And that's why you're seeing something unusual right now. Quiet international support for decisive action. Chew on that. Not because the world loves American power, but because the world remembers what happens when America doesn't use it. I hope that's clear. America's role isn't empire, it's stability. There's a narrative out there, especially media circles like Democracy Now!, that America is always the villain, America's the aggressor, always the problem. But look at the last 100 years. It was American technology that lifted global standards of living, American medicine that extended life expectancy worldwide, American communication norms that encouraged fairness and transparency, and American alliances that kept half the world from falling into authoritarian darkness. American naval power that kept American trade routes open for nations, and all trade routes for that matter, so that they could interact and grow. Nations that could never defend them alone. Well, this is an empire. This is stewardship. And stewardship is not free. No. So let's take a look at the economy, what's real and what's noise. Yes, oil prices have risen, and yes, the Strait of Hormuz is disrupted, and yes, war introduces uncertainties. But the American economy is not a fragile glass vase waiting to shatter. It's not. It is the most adaptive, innovative, and resilient system on Earth. We've weathered oil shocks before. We've weathered recessions, pandemics, and global crises. And we've come out stronger every time. So Klugman is right to warn about risks. But he's wrong to suggest that America is one straw away from collapse. Oh no. We are not that nation, and we never have been. Now, I'm pushing something I call PDCCS. It's a posture we need right now to listen up. Presence, dignity, clarity, compassion, sovereignty. Well, this is how a nation carries itself when the world is watching, not with fear and not with blame and not with self loathing. Get rid of that stuff already, for heaven's sake. But with the quiet confidence of a people who know who they are and what they stand for and what they're willing to protect. Now, I'm not here to cheerlead war. No veteran does that. We know the cost too well. God. But I'm here to remind you that America is not the villain in this story. And decisive action, when taken with precision and purpose, can prevent far greater suffering down the road. So, in a closing word, I fought for this country. I've watched it stumble, rise, learn, and lead. And I've never once believed that America's role in the world was accidental. We are imperfect, but we are necessary. And when the world grows dark, nations still look to us for steadiness, clarity, and for the possibility of a freer future. So take a breath, stay grounded, stay informed, and don't let fear or the voices that profit from fear tell you who we are. We are Americans, and we carry ourselves accordingly, brothers and sisters. Remain in peace.